Hey Capricorn, welcome to your September reading. I have already laid out the cards. I began your reading and then my 3-year-old interrupted, so it's turn again. I hate editing, so we're just going to do it this way because I was only on your first card anyway, luckily, so let's go. Your first card, it's time to leave an unhealthy situation. Now, this card can represent literally physically needing to leave a toxic environment, needing to leave a relationship that is toxic to you. But honestly, the way that this card is reading for me is it's kind of as though it's time for you to leave a situation of limiting beliefs. It's time to leave something that behind that again is being toxic to you in the way that you're living. This card can represent limiting beliefs, self-doubt, fears, anything that's kind of blocking you, that's moving you from, that's potentially leaving you in a stagnant energy and really kind of filtering in the rest of your life. Now we are in Uranus in retrograde, and we'll also have Mercury in retrograde at the same time. Now, Uranus is the planet of independence, Mercury the planet of communication. So potentially this could be bringing things to the surface that needs attention, areas that are not giving you the life that you're craving, that you're desiring. And again, blocking of the throat chakra, which really heightens during the time of Mercury retrograde. Like if you're trying to suppress things and not face the reality of a situation, it's going to arise to a point where you just have to either deal with the turmoil that's going on because you're just so stubborn that you're going to stay in that energy, or again just brings it to your surface. So again, you have to give it attention. And again, with anything, if it's something is arising and showing you, you need to deal with it there and then, for it not potentially to be something that's going to be hindering your growth, right? And this is saying it's time, you're ready, let's move on from this now, let's better our situation. Now the next card is Eternal Love. So this generally is a card that says you're surrounded by love, you have a lot of support, which is a very positive card to have with this. I would also say that you potentially holding on and not leaving something that is toxic to you is stopping you from seeing things that the way they naturally are. So I would say that perhaps you have a perspective of the world that's not 100% accurate or not really productive with the kind of energy that you're wanting to attract, right? And sometimes it can literally be how we're perceiving the world. We've been through some hard times and we start, we harden, we colden. I'm totally in that space right now, so I understand it. It's like where everything sucks and the world does not help anybody, and it puts us in this kind of perspective that it blocks out love. We can't see the love in the world. There's love in the world everywhere. We are surrounded by it. We are literally the embodiment of love. But again, when we go through hard times, to see that and feel that and acknowledge that truth, it literally physically hurts. So it's easier to suppress it, think those negative thoughts, and have an attitude and armor that protects us from feeling those vulnerabilities. So I want you to be mindful of that, Capricorn. If that is how you're living, that is literally pinpoint exactly where the work can start, in that area of changing, again, the way that you perceive the world, one step at a time. The next card is the situation is already resolved. So we're starting off with the first card saying it's time to leave an unhealthy situation and understand, that we're surrounded by love because this is already resolved. So whatever it is that you're going through is not long-lived. It is literally a phase that you have to go through and grow through. Now, as I say that, that's not for you to then go, okay, well, if I just keep going the way I'm going, it's going to pass. No, as with anything, things will be dragged out and last longer if we don't give it attention or don't do the work that we need to do within that area. However, it's saying, look, this does have a conclusion. This is not going to last forever. You're not stuck in this energy, but it does start with movement, and you are ready for that movement. Now this next column, I realize I didn't explain how I was doing this reading for you because I restarted the reading. It represents love and relationships. For some reason, now that Venus is going direct, I think it's the 2nd of September, but don't quote me on that because I'm a bit rubbish with dates at the moment. It seems that love is kindly re-entering our lives in a much more positive way, which means relationships and connections with people may start to be a little bit more forgiving than maybe they have been over the last however long period of time while Venus was retrograding. You have 2 cards in this first position. In reverse, you have prayer will help you with this situation. In reverse means that it's pay attention, you need to hear this. It's like them strongly saying this is important. And this is paired with lean on God and the angels for support. So very interesting. In terms of love and relationship for these two cards, I would say you need to be having faith and trusting. That again, I want to say that when the time is right, when you are ready for a relationship, if you're not in one, if you are single, seeking or wanting to start dating, I would say that make sure that you're ready. I feel like a lot of you are not quite in that space for dating. And I would put it down to, again, with this first column, of saying, the way that you're perceiving the world, the way that you're perceiving love at the moment might not be in full alignment of what you want in a relationship. So if you're coming from a space of, I'm going to use randomly one, like everybody cheats because you were cheated on before, and perhaps you've been cheated on several times in past relationships. If you are still in that mindset because you haven't healed that area, and you're going into a next relationship, you are literally jumping into something where you already have that pressure on a partner, that either you think that they're going to treat, so you don't either trust them enough, or you're not going to be invested in a relationship that you think is not going to last. And I do think that really, ideally, if you're wanting a long-term relationship, we should always be getting into a relationship on a clean slate of understanding that not everybody's the same. In fact, nobody is the same. And every energy that we're working with is a different energy, and people are energy. So how they are with us is going to be different to how they have been with other people. I'm not saying jump into a relationship with absolutely anyone, read the signs. What I'm saying is, like, it's your perspective here that does need to change. So if you are going into a relationship from a whole place, and I would say that you are not quite ready for that, but trust in the process is what these cards are saying. Now, if you're already in a relationship, I would say that there's a potential that Venus in retrograde has made things arise that's either had you questioning, or that's maybe sparked some changes within your relationship dynamic. And it's kind of saying that, again, there's healing here. I just feel like, Capricorn, there's some healing for you in some way, shape or form in terms of relationship. And the fact we have prayer will help you with this situation, and lean on God and the angels for support. Both of them are just saying, like, lean on your faith, lean on your spirit guide. And to me, that's trust in your intuition, trust in your guidance, in your belief system, basically. Not everyone's a Christian, not everyone's Hindu, not everyone's this, that, or the other. We all have our own personal spiritual journey, and I'm not here to tell you who to lean on and trust. What I'm saying is your belief system. Have faith. I would say that this is saying it's time to really go from your true core values in terms of relationship, rather than some, again, self-imposed limiting belief or fear that you're placing in the way. This is what I would say the guidance here. Time to take your time in making this decision. You're definitely not in a space to be... Sorry, I keep moving. We are on my bed, so I'm making use of the space I have. Don't jump into anything, basically. Take your time making any decisions in regard to relationship and love. I do feel like you're just not ready to fully be committed. Even if you're in a relationship, we have to realize that throughout our relationships with people, there are times when we are not ready in a space to fully give our all to our partners. And that is a completely natural cycle and totally okay to be in. We can still be in a relationship and need to take time to ourselves for whatever reasons. And I think understanding that actually can strengthen relationships and make them be a lot better. I'll use my personal experience as an example slightly with this. For me, I feel like I'm somebody a partner can lean on. I'll go through all of their hard times with them together. Now, I feel like in reverse, when I have needed to tap out a little bit and take time for my mental health for whatever reason, I've never really truly allowed that space. And potentially that's why my marriage ended, because I came to a space where I was having like a personal dilemma. Like I believe now, like coming through all of this, it's like because I'm autistic and I'm realizing how I process stuff and what had happened to me and major burnouts in my life. But a partner couldn't support me through that. Only I could support myself. And that to me is something I've always had to do in my relationships. I think whenever I go through personal dilemmas, I don't have partners that are capable of allowing me the time to step back out without it being an issue. I'm not seeking love anywhere else. I'm not XYZ. All I need is to step back and just focus on myself. And then that then brings my partners to be like, whoa, this person doesn't want to be with me now because they want to focus on self. That's not how it should be. And I think we need a better understanding in society that we all are individuals, whether we're in a partnership or not. And sometimes we need to focus on what's wrong with us. Nothing's wrong with us, but again, like sometimes we feel off and we just need some space or time to figure that out without worrying whether or not our partner's going to leave us or be able to support us or freak out about something. And I think that here, this is a good example of that, of taking your time to just really figure out things for yourself. And I think if you're not in a relationship, that is another point of saying, stop thinking that you need a relationship to complete you, because what you're going through now, a relationship is not going to heal. And again, if you go into something unhealed, you're going to come into a situation like me where you need that space and a partner won't give it to you. Because again, you've met somebody. When you meet someone, you meet with them at the energy and level that you're at. So I do feel, from my growth and from my understanding of spirituality and energy, is that we often meet people at the vibration that we are at. So we're meeting somebody else who is equally traumatized in certain areas, and that's how we're trauma bonding with people that are coming from the same space as us. So they understand what we're going through in that moment. And that makes us connect to them in a way of love. The problem is then you're both leaning on each other from the beginning. And that's my problem. I've always met people in a way that lean on me. And then once I've done all that I can for them and I need space for myself, it tumbles down. And that can potentially happen to you. What if you heal and your partner doesn't? And no longer is that the person that you bonded with. You can't connect anymore because that person doesn't know you in the space that you've grown to. So I would be very mindful about making new connections, and I would say, Capricorn, now is not the time for you to be doing that. It's to be focusing on self. Detach yourself from the situation. To me, this is saying, if you're in relationships, that it's time for you to again step back and look at it objectively. If you are coming from a space where you are arguing a lot and bickering, I would say it's time for you to realize that the other person's coming from a space of love as well, and not to take everything personally. But again, this is to me saying, look at the situation objectively. If you are struggling with the fact that you feel like you cannot have a relationship and you want one, are you actually ready for one, or do you just want the companionship? I think that a lot of us feel that we need to be with somebody because, again, being lonely is scary. However, then we often realize after time that we're alone and lonely still, even in a relationship, because if you do not have the companionship of friends and support, it can be very lonely to be with somebody who doesn't support you. So again, don't get into anything too quickly. I don't think this is the one for you, Capricorn, to be committing to anything in terms of relationship. I'm definitely getting a lot of vibes of needing to heal something within yourself before committing. But again, if this is within a relationship already, it's about just taking time, no rash decisions. It's not saying leave. Over here, it's saying time to leave an unhealthy situation. If it's unhealthy for you, if it's causing a lot of toxicity in your life, and has been for some time, leave it. That's definitely the advice here, and we'll look more into that in the final column, potential outcomes, etc. But I would say that it's take our time with this, not jumping into anything to leave if it's not specifically that's the problem, if it's more just growth for yourself. Detach and realize that the arguments that you're having is coming from a place of love on both sides, and that there's more than just one party in this. I do think Capricorn, my ex is a Capricorn, and sometimes you only think of self in terms of relationships, so it's how it's impacting you. And I do think that's a part of a lot of what's your drive in life, is because of that. Like, it's a very positive thing, but it can be a negative from the perspective of a partner, because I feel like you really a magnitude on how that impacts you and your life, not realizing that anything the other person does very well may also come from a place of love. We all come from places of love, even when we are being toxic to others. It's how we are dealing with the situations that are occurring in our lives. And when we start to realize that a person who's being toxic towards us is struggling, we can sometimes see the humanity and treat them a little bit differently, to how potentially we have been, and give them respect to the degree that they deserve, that we deserve as well. Just something to be mindful of with that, and if you are in relationships. The final column. So this final column, basically it's kind of guidance and advice on the most favorable outcome. So take this again as a pinch of salt in terms of how you want to approach your life, but it's the guidance that is being offered to you. Self-respect. This is about you having boundaries, but it's also a card of saying that you need to again make sure that everything that you have and are attracting in your life during this time is in alignment with who you are, and that you have those boundaries up. Respect of the self. It starts with boundaries. It starts with, again, how you are treating yourself. Sometimes, again, you settling for a relationship purely because you want companionship is you being dishonorable not only to that person but to yourself as well, because you deserve to have somebody who wants to be with you and, again, is on the same level as you, that wants the same things as you in life, right? Instead of just settling because, this person likes me and they're nice enough, you are then disrespecting yourself because, again, it's not fulfilling your needs. Potentially you're not as attracted to them as you desire. For some reason I feel this need to keep saying this because I feel as though there's the recklessness here within you that comes with putting pressure upon the self. And this self-respect card is saying be kind to yourself, and again, assert those boundaries, because when you start crossing your own boundaries, you start disrespecting yourself. If you treat yourself like that, you are actually opening up your energy to say, this is what I accept. I accept to be treated this way by yourself and by others, because how you treat yourself is what you are allowing from others as well. And that's something, again, to be extremely mindful of, Capricorn. Positive thoughts create positive results. This is what I was talking about with this first card. It's bringing it back around. It's time to change that mentality. Have a look at how your brain has been working in terms of your internal monologue, if you have one. Apparently there's weirdos out there who don't. Not criticizing you, I'm just saying it's very strange that people don't have internal monologues, because I have a crazy internal monologue. Anyway, sorry about that. Positive thoughts create positive results. How's it been coming? Have you been telling yourself that you can't have good things in life, that you're the reason this is happening, and X, Y, Z bad things? It's time for you to change that. Be the positive in your life, to waterfall the positives into your life. That sounds like a very weird fortune cookie, but that is my guidance with this card. It's basically saying it's time for you to start living your true potential, really. And again, dropping unhealthy situations is dropping fears and limitation in terms of our thoughts, limiting beliefs, because when we believe that there's only one way of doing things, there will only be one way of doing things. When we believe that the world is our oyster and there's many different possibilities. Now remember, be creative with the way that you think. I think, Capricorn, you can typically go towards the more logical way of thinking, and I think that this really does limit, again, the potential in ourselves and our lives, because when we think that there's only one way to do something, if that doesn't work out, then we are at a loss and we feel like there's no other way out. But there always is. There are a magnitude of possibilities, and it starts with you believing. I kind of think that changing your values in terms of how you perceive the world. There's something about perceiving the world a certain way that's just not accurate. But again, your world will look like that and mirror that if that's what you are allowing yourself to believe. If you tell yourself you can't have something, you're not going to have it. So I think, again, with this self-respect and the positive thoughts create positive results, it's a lot about self-image for you as well. Now this last card is in reverse, so pay attention. It does kind of sum all of this up. Go forward fearlessly. It's saying, again, you're on the right path, because this card literally is one that says you're on the right path. You can release all your worries because this is the most favorable outcome. Go forward fearlessly. Now, what does fears mean? Fears are limitations that we put upon ourselves that are not truths, they're not facts, they're things we tell ourselves that stop us from making a move. For example, we tell ourselves that if we do this, this might happen. And half the time that maybe and that if and that but and that whatever is actually a lot less probable than the actual outcome that we desire. And this is another way of changing your perspective, is when you come to something and you think about, oh, I can't do that because what if this happens? What if the other thing happens? How probable of this happening or this happening is it? Most of the time it's going to at least be 60% this probable thing will happen, and 40% this maybe might happen. I mean, them odds are near, and it's probably a lot less, like more like 90, 80. But what I'm saying is almost every single time, your probable is much more likely to happen than this one thing that's the fear that blocks you, and you will listen to that instead of that because it's something that's bad that you're scared of happening. And again, so these are limiting beliefs. This is exactly what I've been talking to you this whole reading about, having limited beliefs that potentially stop you. Saying drop that, let go of your worries and go forward fearlessly, because there are unlimited potential, unlimited possibilities, and you need to change your perspective and mindset. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next month. Thank you, guys.